Alright, I am back with another video, and today I am doing another build request. We are doing, well, I was asked to do a werebear, so you know, basically like a werewolf, but you're actually a bear. And it got to me thinking, like, well, yeah, obviously that would just be like a level 10 moon druid, blah, 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 nothing crazy there, but then I thought, actually, no. Let's get a little bit more interesting with it. Now, obviously the big thing here is that, yes, if we want to transform into a bear, we are playing a druid. And obviously, when you play a moon druid, pretty much any level you take out of druid is going to be detrimental, at least up to level 10. So how exactly can we make this an interesting and effective build? Well, let me just say, Paddington's fucking pissed. We are going to be building basically probably one of the best tank builds I think I've ever made. Just from being able to take a sheer amount of damage and just keep going. I mean, probably just by saying that you already know where this build is going, but I think I've got some interesting twists on the concept, such as the equipment, that I think you're going to find really, really interesting, so let's get into it. We're going to want to start off as a Barbarian. Obviously, this is going to give us our Rage, which means we're going to be able to do extra damage with melee, improvised weapons and throwing, and also be resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for 10 turns. Also, we're going to be grabbing Unarmored Defense, meaning we add our Constitution modifier to our Armour class as long as we are not wearing heavy armor, which we are not. As for our stats, I believe this is a perfect spread. We're going for a 17 in Strength, meaning that with half feet we're going to be taking later, and the Potion of Everlasting Vigor, we can easily push this up to 20. So Dexterity at 16 because it's going to be affecting our Armor class, and Constitution at 15, we can bump this up with a half feet later, or Ethel's Boon, it's entirely your preference, but we want this as high as we can, but we want the other two higher, and then we dump the rest of our stats because, well, we're a Barbarian and we're a bear. These stats aren't exactly our forte. And the fact that we're multi-classing Druid and Barbarian is going to give us a ton of really funny dialogue options. If you've never played a Barbarian, seriously, role-playing and the roleplay and the dialogue for the Barbarian is some of the funniest in the game. You will actually have a really good time with this build, even with the dialogue stuff, even if you're probably not going to be succeeding most actual rolls and checks. Barbarian will give you a lot of advantage on intimidation rolls, so have fun with that. As for our proficiencies, nature and survival makes perfect sense here. Alright, next up at level 2, we're going to be a Barbarian 2, which means we're going to get a few things. Number 1 is Danger Sense. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces. Pretty good overall, but it's not a huge thing for the build. And we also gain Reckless Attack, but spoiler alert, we're not using a weapon with this build, so we don't really get to use Reckless Attack, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Next up at Barbarian level 3, we get to choose our subclass, and this is obvious. We're going Wildheart, and we're taking the Bear Heart. This means we're going to be able to get Rage, Bear Heart, and Unrelenting Ferocity. The Rage basically means our Rage gets upgraded. We're using it to grate cheese. No. You can basically what it means is that now our resistance covers all damage except psychic, making us a really, really effective tank. And also we're going to be able, like I said, to gain Unrelenting Ferocity to be able to heal ourselves. We also get some badass piercings as well. I think these look quite cool and work well for the build. Overall, as like from a design point. I've never built an orc for this channel before, so I thought, you know what, now's the perfect time. I mean, you could go with Berserker or Wild Magic, or if you don't care about this particular feature, you can drop this entirely and just go the rest of your levels in Moon Druid to get the full Moon Druid kit. But I want this build to kind of have two modes, the Barbarian mode and the Bear mode. So you have two kind of alternating modes that you can kind of play between as you see fit. Next up at Barbarian level 4, we are going to be grabbing our first feat, and obviously you saw it coming, we are grabbing Tavern Brawler, bumping our strength up to an 18, meaning that now we can add our strength modifier to the attack and damage rolls of our improvised weapons or throwing, which is what we're going to be doing a lot with this build. This is an improvised weapon build. Why do you need to bring a weapon when A, half the time you're going to be a bear, and B, there are plenty of goblins around that will do just fine. Trust me, this is a fun one. Now, here's the thing. You have another choice here. You can go into Barbarian 5 for the extra attack and a bit more movement, meaning that while you're outside of your bear form, you are going to be a bit more effective. However, by not going to level 8 of Moon Druid, we're losing out on some extra features that the bear would get, namely more HP, which we absolutely want. So it's entirely up to you. Either take extra attack from Barbarian for more power outside of your bear form, or begin your climb up Moon Druid to be able to start getting those bear features, and that is what I will personally be doing, because again, I'm not here to make an optimal build, I'm here to make a fun build, and we will still get extra attack in our bear form as well, so we won't be losing too much combat effectiveness here, especially when with your improvised weapon attacks, you're technically attacking 2 enemies at once, which is basically extra attack, if you think about it, but again, play around with the levels on this one. We get a couple of cantrips as a druid, but of course we've completely dumped our wisdom, so we have to get a little bit creative with our spell choice here. Obviously guidance and resistance are good options that don't rely on our wisdom to cast, so we can go with those here. As for our prepared spells, it's a similar sort of deal. I would obviously recommend Speak with Animals, but we do actually get that for free as our Barbarian subclass, so we don't actually need to think about that here. So I'm going to recommend grabbing Longstrider. Again, it's not reliant on our spell casting, and the effect that you get from this lasts until a long rest. It doesn't require concentration, which means you won't lose it when you rage or wild shape, and will work with your wild shape as well, so it just gives you a bit more movement speed. It's a great utility spell. Next up at Druid level 2, we're going to finally be able to pick our subclass, which means we're finally going to be able to wild shape, meaning we are going to be a Circle of the Moon, giving us the wild shape bear form. For some reason, it's a polar bear. I don't know why, it just is. But basically this means we're also going to be grabbing Lunar Mend, allowing us to expend those spell slots that we're really not going to be able to use on anything else anyway, to heal ourselves, which is while in our wild shape, which means in addition to raging and then becoming a bear, meaning we are now a bear that's resistant to everything and can heal itself pretty much infinitely, you are going to be one very, very tanky Winnie the Pooh. So how many different famous bears am I going to name throughout this video? Let's keep count. But basically this means you're going to be super tanky. In the combat footage that you'll see, you'll see how tanky you actually are. Basically the whole point of this build is to work as part of a team. You are going to be basically taking the brunt of the hits because the bear actually has a goading roar that causes enemies to attack you, meaning that you can take all the hits for your party. Yes, we're not going to be getting the maximum amount of possible hit points with our bear form that we could be, but still we're going to be super tanky because of our rage. You'll see what I mean. So basically you run in there, smack people around as a very, very angry bear, and then at the end of the day, your party will be free to do as much damage as they can. We don't get any more prepared spells at this point, unfortunately. Next up at Druid level 3, we're going to be able to start selecting level 2 spells, but I don't want any of them. Instead, we are going to grab Goodberry because, well, it was all that was in the picnic basket, boo. Boo! Boo's the hamster! Oh my god, get Minsk in your party and freaking have the hamster and the bear working together. Oh, that's amazing. I love it. Oh my goodness. Anyways. Let's keep going. I'm such a moron. Next up, we're going to be able to keep going into Druid. We're going to get a feat and also a couple of extra wild shape forms, but we don't care. We're a bear at heart. We also get another cantrip. None of these really matter, so just grab Form Whip in case it works sometimes. We also do get another prepared spell at this level, and I'm going to recommend Enhanced Sleep. Again, it doesn't require our concentration, so with a little bit of setup, you can cast Longstrider outside of combat, Enhanced Sleep and Rage on the first round, then next round turn into a bear, and now you're a high-flying, fast-running, super pissed-off bear. Definitely an interesting combo that I think is quite fun. Now we also do get an ability score improvement at this level, or a feat, and I am going to recommend Durable. The Constitution increases by 1, rounding that out. Again, if you didn't take Ethel's Boon for this, you can do it here. You can kind of do this instead. But basically, the main thing we're here for is the ability to regain our full hit points each time you take a short rest. Again, because we are going to be the party's tank, we are going to be taking a lot of damage, so being able to use less resources to heal ourselves is going to be super important. So you absolutely want to pick this feat up, and now all our numbers are even again, which makes me happy on the inside. Next up at Druid level 5, we're going to get some extra features. We're now going to get our extra attack, our Wild Strike, so basically this means that now while we're a bear, we can attack twice, which is awesome. We also gain another prepared spell at this level, and we are up to level 3, but I'm only here for a level 2 spell, which is Enhanced Ability. This one takes our concentration, but you're mainly going to be using this outside of combat anyway to give you advantage on ability checks with a chosen ability, probably strength in a lot of cases, so this actually just makes sense to grab. There's no reason not to, and it's perfect because it doesn't require our spellcasting modifier to work. With our Druid level 6, we're going to be getting another subclass feature, our Primal Strike, meaning that now our wild shape attacks overcome resistance and immunity to non-magical damage, which is awesome, meaning nothing is going to stop our ferocious claws. But we're also going to be getting a slight upgrade. If you want to kind of play around with the definition of a bear and be a bit more loose, we now have an Owlbear transformation, which for the most part is kind of a buff over the bear. However, it doesn't synergize as well with our Barbarian features because this one has its own version of Rage. Technically, what you'd be getting out of this is an extra attack called Rupture and a bit more hit points, although actually I do believe the bear at the base at the top level will actually have this much hit points anyway, so it's whatever, but this one can rage as well, and I don't know if this rage stacks with the actual Barbarian rage. I doubt it, but you might as well experiment with that yourself. I'm personally going to be sticking to a regular bear, but if you feel like that's not really pulling its weight anymore, then the Owlbear transformation is now an option. We also do gain another prepared spell at this level, and again, there's nothing here that we can really get that makes much sense. I mean, we can't concentrate on stuff or spellcast while raging or as a bear, so it's really up to you. You could get protection from poison, as it doesn't require your concentration and would just give you an extra resistance, but it's technically one we already have, but you would also... so it's not really worth it. I mean, you could cast it on an ally, but again, I'm really grasping at straws here. Her Barbarian spellcaster is a weird subclass mix. Next up at Druid level 7, we're going to be finally getting above that 100 HP threshold, which is nice, but we also are going to get some interesting and powerful spells at this point. We're going to be able to gain 2 summoning spells, that being Conjure Minor Elemental and Conjure Woodland Being. 2 really powerful spells that don't require your concentration and now also add to your party's ability to deal offense, as these 2 will act independently of you and don't require your spellcasting modifier. So you can conjure a Woodland Being to be able to conjure a Dryad, that they themselves can conjure a Woodwote, which are both going to be quite effective in battle, and we're also going to be able to grab Conjure Minor Elemental to summon 1 or 2 extra creatures, so a bit like my Lucky Guardian, you do actually get to have a small little platoon with you as you go into battle, although these guys probably won't last that long at this level of combat, but hey ho. And finally, we're at Druid level 8, meaning now our wild shape is at its maximum possible HP. We also gain a saber-toothed tiger, but no, we're a bear. And also we're going to get to prepare an extra spell at this level. I mean, we can grab freedom of movement here, actually. That would be a pretty awesome spell. We can't, difficult terrain will no longer slow us down. We can't be stunned and we can't be paralyzed or restrained. It lasts until a long rest and doesn't require our concentration, so it will work with our rage and our wild shape. Pretty awesome, actually. Pretty good spell to cast as well. So your kind of start of the day is going to be casting this, and then maybe at the start of battle, maybe casting these 2 if you want, and then maybe casting this at the start of battle, then raging, and blah, 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 blah. You'll kind of have a bit of a setup round each time you fight, but when that setup is over, you're going to be pretty damn powerful. We're also going to be grabbing another feat at this point, and you can take whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. I'm personally going to be bumping up our Constitution to increase both our AC and our overall hit point total, as well as allowing our concentration saves to be a bit better, even though we're not really focusing on that, but hey, it might come up. And that is the build. Now, obviously, this means you are going to be basically the party's tank, as I said, with our Wild Shape Rage being able to give us resistance to everything except Psychic, plus the additional HP the Bear transformation is going to have, or whatever transformation you decide to go with, plus all the extra abilities we can get through Long Strider and Freedom of Movement. You are going to be a fast-moving, hard-hitting, very, very fucking angry bear. And even if you're not a bear, you're still going to have a super fun gameplay style with your improvised weapons and throwing, doing a ton of damage to multiple enemies at once, and just being absolutely goddamn hilarious. Again, it depends on what you really want to lean into. If you want to go more into this playstyle, get that extra attack, or if you want to stick more with the bear, maybe go to 10 levels if you don't care about all the resistances, but I quite personally like the level mix we have here. So let's get into the equipment. To start off, we have some options for your headpiece. You can either go with the Bone Spike Helmet, which, when you range, hostile creatures within a 3-meter radius must succeed a Wisdom saving throw or take 1d8 psychic damage. The target receives half damage on a save. You get a buff to your intimidation, and you can also use Menacing Attack from the Battlemaster Fighter maneuvers, which possibly frightens the target, and they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move. Pretty good overall. Or you can go with the Shapeshifter Hat, which would basically mean you gain an extra wild shape charge. Either of these will work. They're both obtained in Act 3, which kind of sucks, but use whatever headpiece you like up until that point. It really doesn't matter. I'm personally going to be sticking with the Bone Spike Helmet. As for our armor, you have a few options. We have the Enraging Heart Garb here. While raging, the wearer generates 2 turns of Wrath, and for those of you who don't know, Wrath basically gives you a +1 bonus to damage with melee weapons. Unfortunately, unarmed strikes don't count, so this doesn't really work for us, but we're mainly here for the Constitution, to bump up our Constitution to a total of 20, making us a very, very tanky boy. Also, you have a couple of other options. If you want to get something in Act 1 that's really good, you can get the Hide Armor set, which basically just looks like you're covered in bear skin or bear fur anyway, so it's pretty cool. You gain a +1 bonus to the dexterity saving throws and checks, and a +1 bonus to initiative rolls, and it's just an overall decent piece of armor you can get very easily in Act 1. Giving you a decent chunk of AC. However, obviously, for the most part, the Enraging Heart Guard, which you get in Act 2, is going to be better and give us more AC overall and more health. But in Act 3, if you really want to lean into the bear side of things, you can go for the Armour of Moonbasking, which will give you 22 temporary hit points while you are a bear, which is pretty good. Temporary hit points, I mean. And while those temporary hit points are active, you reduce all incoming damage by 1, making you even more of a tank. You also have a +2 bonus to armor class and advantage on saving throws against spells while you are just wearing this armor, or while you are wild shaped. So overall, you are going to have a super powerful wild shape that can tank even more. So it's really up to you if you want to go with the Enraging Heart Garb, the Hide Armor, or the Armor of Moonbasking. Each have their own kind of benefits, although I think this is more just the only benefit the Hide Armor has is that it's an early game option, whereas these two are mid and late game respectively, but you absolutely want to go with one of these. We also have the Gloves of Uninhibited Kashigo. The wearer deals an additional 1d4 damage with throw attacks and attacks made with improvised weapons. This is going to lead into our non-bear playstyle, and is quite fun overall, just meaning that even though we're not getting an extra attack, you're still going to be doing a ton of damage with that one attack you get. And finally, it's just a solid Act 2 option. We have the Evasive Shoes, just giving us an extra buff to our armor class, but if you want something a little bit different once you reach Act 3, the Bone Spike Boots, which are pretty much basically a straight upgrade. These are going to give us a +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws, as long as we are not wearing armor or holding a shield. We are not. And is also going to increase our jump distance and also give us the Brutal Leap, allowing us to jump on an enemy to possibly knock them prone. I'm pretty sure this won't work while you're a bear, but as a barbarian, it's still going to be quite a nice option. Obviously, we have the Corvid token. Whenever I make a wild shape character, I always include this. Basically, while wearing the amulet, you gain permanent feather fall, and your jumping speed and distance increase. And basically, you can polymorph into a raven as well. But all of these effects, the additional benefits you get, will stay up while you are in wild shape, meaning that even if we're jumping around with enhanced leap, for example, you are going to be able to be a high-flying sumo wrestling, diving on opponents type of bear, which is absolutely funny to me. It's amazing. We also have the Ring of Flinging, where it gains a +1d4 bonus to throw damage, so if you decide to throw an enemy, you're going to be able to do even more damage. This stacks with the Gloves of Uninhibited Kashigo and Tavern Brawler to be super, super powerful. And the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring, since we're going to be wild-shaped, this is going to give us a 1d4 bonus to all checks while wild-shaped, so it's absolutely worth having around. So yeah, that is the build. As I said, no weapons, because, well, our weapons are just going to be whatever's close enough to throw or smash people with, which I think is actually a really fun playstyle and provides a unique challenge, but obviously we also have our bear claws, so let's get into the bear now. Here we are, we're a bear, a very bloody bear, and we have a few options to us. We have 66 HP, which is decent. I mean, again, this is stacked onto our regular Barbarian HP, of which if we ever run out and revert back, we can just wild shape again. But again, with all of our abilities to tank and heal, that's very rarely going to happen. We have our claws that do 7 to 18 damage, 2d4 plus 1d6 plus 4, so it's a pretty powerful little option, and we get to do this twice thanks to extra attack. We also gain the Goading Roar, which is going to goad enemies to attack you, again leading into that tankiness, and the Lunar Mend, which allows us to expend spell slots to heal a certain amount, which at level 4, which we have 2 slots of, can do quite a lot, and the rest aren't so shabby either, allowing us to really keep up that tanking ability, and of course, being a bear is just friggin' awesome. But if we want to just quickly dismiss this wild shape, we can go into the other option I suggested, which is the Owlbear. This one's going to have a total of 78 HP, so a bit more than the typical bear, but not by a lot. We still have that double attack claws, which will do a bit more damage. We also have the crushing flight, allowing us to leap onto things and knock them prone, so hey, you can get that wild shape. We also have our own version of Enrage, given to the Owlbear's base instincts to increase your strength by 2 and possibly make nearby enemies fearful. Again, I don't know if this stacks with the Barbarian range, but if it does, goddamn. Perhaps I should have tested that before I started this video, but hey, maybe you guys can report back to me on that one. I'd be quite interested to hear. Rupture, which means you get to rupture the earth, causing debris to tear through nearby objects and creatures, doing a bunch of bludgeoning damage, and we still have that healing aspect. So you have a couple of options for what flavor of bear you want to go for, but either way, you're gonna be, again, a pretty fucking pissed bear. Sorry, it's so fun to say, like, pissed off bear, I don't know why, and I've also left the camp for some reason when I meant to dismiss my wild shape. You see how pissed off this bear was? This bear crashed a ship. So yeah, that is the build. And overall, I have to say, I am really happy with this one. Again, it's not the most optimized build in the world. It's not going to be winning solo encounters, but that's not the point. It's a tank. Have fun, be goofy, and tank all the hits for your friends. And again, you are a very pissed off bear. You will have a lot of opportunities to just be goofy and have a ton of fun. I can't stress enough how this is basically a kind of comedy build in disguise, but with serious tanking utility that is going to be super helpful for your party. I mean, it's not the first time I've built a tank, but this might just be the best tank. Also, you're a bear. How can I can't say that enough times. You're a bear. It's awesome. You're a bear. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Again, this is kind of another in the string of build request videos that I'm doing at the moment. Again, this is the third one I've recorded today. I've done my Assassin's Creed build and my Cryomancer build, which should be going up in the days prior to this one. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of running through them. I want to get kind of like a header schedule on my uploads. I basically want to have a bunch of videos edited and ready to and uploaded and scheduled to go, so that I can spend the rest of my week off of work that I have playing Spider-Man 2 and not have to stop to make videos so much. So yeah, this is my third recording of the day, and yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm on a bit of a roll here. I feel like we've got 3 really cool builds back to back to back here, and I'm not going to stop. I've got another build request that I'm going to record in a minute, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to have a whole week's worth of videos ready to go, so I can kind of take a little bit of a break. Not that I need one. I don't need one. Oh, my Halloween build. Somebody actually made a really interesting build suggestion for a Halloween build that I'm absolutely going to do, that you're going to see this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to showing you that. That's probably the next video I'm going to record. So, ooh, I'm on a roll today. I don't know why, but today, specifically, is probably the most fun I've had recording videos for this channel in a while. I'm just gassed up, like, and ready to go. So, I hope you all really, really enjoyed this build, and I will see you all again next time. Which for me is going to be like 5 minutes.